fit and fine by the grace of the Almighty. In today's video, I'm going to tell you a fact, not a fiction, which happened a few days ago, and at the same time which will help you learn English in a proper way. A student of HSC second year phoned me. He said to me, "Sir, I know English. I know a lot of rules of English grammar. But the only problem is that I cannot speak English. I cannot translate my own textbooks into Bangla. And I cannot read English newspapers. What's the solution to this problem? What should I do? What can I do?" I said, "Why do you think that you know English?" He said instantaneously and confidently, "I know English because I have learnt a lot of rules of English grammar. I know how to transform simple sentences into complex sentences, and I know a lot of rules like these." I became astonished what he is saying. Then I said, "Have you ever tried to translate your textbooks into Bangla?" He said, "No, sir. Our teacher translates and we only listen to our teacher's translation and we understand. When our teacher translates our textbooks into Bangla, we understand. And when he doesn't do so, we cannot understand anything because we cannot translate from our own." Viewers, this is the real condition of most of the students of our country. They depend on their teachers how to translate textbooks because they cannot translate. And what the teachers are doing is that the teachers are translating and the students can understand when the teachers are translating. The teachers are not teaching how to translate. This is the problem. Viewers, my point of view is that our teachers should train our students how to translate English textbooks into Bangla, how to speak English, how to read English newspapers. Otherwise, English teaching will never be successful, will never be fruitful. Most of the students of our country cannot speak English because they don't think that speaking English will help them make a good result in the exam. They don't think that they have to speak English, they have to communicate with other people, they have to write something from their own. They think that the questions will be common in the examination and then they will pass the exams easily. This is their thinking. They are not trying to learn this language. I tried to make the student understand you have to learn English in the way. If you do not speak English, you will forget your learned words. Viewers, there was a time when I used to learn a lot of English words, but I forgot. I used to forget. That means I used to do it regularly in the past. That means after learning, after memorizing some words, I couldn't apply those memorized words, those learned words in my speaking. That's why I was unable to retain the words in my memory for a long time. This is the problem which I faced. So when I could understand that I have to speak English, I have to read English newspapers, I could become successful. So viewers, what I want to say is that you have to speak English. You have to read English newspapers. You have to communicate with other people in order to learn English. English is not a subject, it's a language. Viewers, I would like to tell you a short story which is a real history, factual history, real history. Once I went to meet a famous teacher. He is my favorite teacher, Dijendranath Bishwas. He said to me, "Do you know English?" I replied, "Yes, I know English because I know a lot of rules." He removed my misconception. He said, he is a very wise teacher. He is also alive. He is a very wise teacher. He used to keep Bengali and English newspapers in his bag all the time. He brought out the Bengali newspaper from his bag and said, "Translate this into English." I said, "It's never possible for me. It is not included in your textbooks." He became surprised. Then he brought out the English newspapers from his bag and said, "Translate it." I couldn't translate. He said, "If you know a language, why will you not be able to translate the English newspapers of that language? Why will you not be able to communicate with other people in that language or with that language? Have you learnt a language?" He tried to make me understand everything easily, and I grasped what he said. Since then, I tried to learn English in a different way. I tried to speak English all the time in the mind. I told you in the previous videos that you have to speak English in the mind. If you cannot speak English openly, you should practice this language in your mind. I told you in my previous videos, you have to translate your friend's speech, your mother's, your father's, everybody's Bengali sentences into English. You have to translate those Bengali sentences into English. It will help you to a greater extent to speak English, because this is true. Viewers, I became successful in making the student who found me understand that you have to speak English, you have to read English newspapers. He understood, he could understand. He said, "What should I do now?" I said, you have to master, you have to practice, you have to master 200 grammatical sentences. If you only watch the basic grammatical sentences, or you have to, if you only watch, if you do not practice, only watch, you will never be able to learn English. You have to practice after watching those classes. He is watching the classes. Now he is being successful as well. Viewers, this is the story. This is the real story, didactic story. I think you have understood what the story is about. I tried to make you understand what my message is about, is that you have to speak English.